music, man, it resonates with nostalgia from the jazz stuff and the inspiration, and also blends multiple genres. Like especially when I listen to your breakfast beats, you start in one zone, you move to the next, and it's the transitions and the movements are really really beautiful to me. And I just put them on for motivation, and it's inspirational to actually see you as I've watched you over the last few years. Um, it's very motivational, man, to see another brother from the Midwest that moves from the 9 to 5 space into the full-time musician space. And I just want to talk about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome Brandon Meeks of Brandon Meeks Music to the show. How you doing today, brother?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on, man, and congrats again on the start of your podcast. I'm glad
Oh
to
man, I
be one of the
appreciate it.
first
Thank you
be a part
very
of it.
much, man. I would like to believe that I am bringing on not only just any old talent, but I'm looking for people who also have that entrepreneurial spirit, and you fit that bill.
Right on.
And it's been a long time coming. Like I say, I've seen you perform a few times years back, but you've still been in motion. All the projects that you have out, the way that you have your platform set up, the way that you engage your community. I think my audience, the listeners and the viewers on YouTube, would appreciate your story. And I do thank you for taking the time. First, I want to start with your early beginnings. Tell us
Sure.
where you started at. I think I read something where you were in a jazz band in junior high school.
Oh yeah, Emerson School for the Visual and Performing Arts in Gary, Indiana. That's where I was born and raised.
Mhm.
And my beginning in music kind of started there, just as a child, seeing my older brothers. One was a guitar player, and another one of my older brothers was a DJ. So my initial inspiration for music came from watching them and just kind of seeing them as my heroes.
Mhm.
By the time I got to middle school, I had been playing classical guitar for a little while,
Okay.
but a friend of mine talked me into joining the school jazz band and getting on bass, which was something that I wanted to do from the beginning. But my parents kind of just put me in guitar because they felt like that would be the best
Right.
entry point for music for me.
Right.
But yep. But starting there at Emerson School for Visual and Performing Arts was the first time I really picked up a bass guitar, and just been going with it ever since.
Now, had were you classically trained?
Yeah, yep. When I was about 10 or so, my mom put me with a classical guitar teacher. Basically, the first guitar teacher I had was really a piano player. He knew enough about music to kind of tell me where the notes were and that sort of thing, but he really wasn't a guitar player.
Mhm.
So then the next teacher that she put me with, classical music, was what he did. His name was Mario Marino. Just bad cat on classical guitar. He's still playing to this day. And but he basically just taught me how he knew how to play it, and that was classical. So I took that and ran with it all the way through high school.
Okay. And then at what point, or you probably already did, but let's just say, was there a pivotal moment where you realized this is what I want to do?
Yeah, that actually came a little bit later on, because for me, early on, the music was just kind of just something that I did for fun, and I was inspired by it just because I saw other musicians doing it. I really didn't have a concept of music being a career until I was in college. And
You got that.
oh yeah, sure. I was going to school at Columbia College in Chicago, downtown Chicago, and downtown Chicago is like one of the cultural centers of the world. So I
Definitely.
was seeing all kinds of just arts and culture, just like I was on like information overload, just all the stuff I was seeing there. And during that time, I saw Branford Marsalis in concert with Jeff King Watts on drums. I saw, of course, the Chicago Jazz Fest and some of like just world class jazz talent from all over the world. I saw Wayne Shorter do a concert at the Chicago Jazz Fest, and
Oh, wow.
just many others. Herbie Hancock, he came to Gary, Indiana while I was in college and played at Westside High School. So between seeing those three, between Branford, Wayne Shorter, and Herbie Hancock, actually seeing them do their thing, like it was like, yeah, I want to do that. I
Okay.
got to figure out how to do that.
That must have been amazing to see them.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
I've seen Herbie live, but I've not had the opportunity to see the other guys. And I'm a big fan of Branford, but I have not
oh
had
yeah.
the, so that's amazing, man. And then so when that switch hit, what was going on in your life, and how did you put the plan in motion, and that's what you're going to do?
Actually, at that point, it was an inspiration, but I really didn't have a plan because I was still in college. And actually, the way I grew up in a pretty traditional Pentecostal church. So,
Okay.
like playing jazz is kind of like
Not
risque, you know what I mean? So I had like no concept of like playing music as a career, but the more I kind of was exposed to it through the educational world, the more interest I got in it. So I kind of went several years because while I was in college, I was actually pursuing graphic design. So I worked in that field, and I was inspired to do music. So I kind of started gradually picking up little gigs here and there, doing music on the side, but
mm,
doing graphic design during the day. And the more time I spent just working music gigs on the side, I started to kind of watch other people and pick up information and start piecing it together. Like, okay, so here's how you can possibly make this a full time career.
mhm,
So just really from watching cats like Rob Dixon here in Indianapolis,
mhm.
some of the jazz legends, like I was around Melvin Ryan, who played in the original West Montgomery trio quite a bit. Um, just being exposed to several people and seeing what they were doing, it kind of started helping me. Like, okay, like if you do this and do this and do this and put it together, you might can make this work. But
Gotcha.
it took me some years to get to that point.
Mhm. And then you said you were studying graphic design originally in college.
That's right. That's right.
Now, is it that what you got your degree in, or
Yeah, I did get a degree in that. And I worked in that world in like graphic design, worked for like some ad agencies, some
mm,
places that do professional printing. So I spent about 10 years doing that.
was that in Chicago or in Indianapolis?
That all took place in Indianapolis.
Okay, okay,
Yep.
all right. And then within that world, you were still playing music though, right? For that
Right.
time period. And
Right.
how was that going? Working the day job as a graphic designer, you're probably working with marketing, advertising, and stuff like that. So how was that working those simultaneously, still being a musician, playing out while working a full-time job?
Yeah, it was hectic, man. Because like, of course, I'm spending 40 hours a week doing a 9 to 5 job, and then working gigs at night. And then I'm a young husband and a young father, like small children.
Right.
So all the responsibilities and things that you have to do that go along with that, like I was trying to juggle it all.
Hmm.
And honestly, it was kind of burning me out just trying to manage all three things, trying to pursue my creative passion, working a job, then trying to be a husband and father. It was pretty hectic, but also at the same time, it was a great learning experience too because I was as I was doing graphic design, working in the advertising world, I'm learning things about marketing and how to
Yeah.
promote and like what the psychology is behind that. Especially uh, one of the last ad agency I worked for, Promoters Advertising. The owner of the company, his name is Bruce Bryan. He was like the first black ad executive in
Okay.
Indianapolis. And
Okay.
he kind of took me under his wing and kind of started teaching me about strategic planning and really like the nuts and bolts of like marketing and advertising and how it works. So
Right.
that's information I use to this day.
And it's quite interesting you say that because I too was a young father and husband.
Hmm.
I started my career within hip hop and then also started my own label. And then the most recent degree I received just a few years ago was in graphic design and marketing.
Oh,
So
really?
it's interesting that you say that because those tie in directly with what we're going to get into a little later with how you are building your community and merchandising and marketing and stuff like that. That's pretty cool, man. Uh,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm familiar with that world as well as the music world too. That's interesting. So what year? And I think I read somewhere what year was, but I'll let you tell me what year was it that, and how did it lead up to you transitioning from the 9 to 5, 40 hours a week to becoming a full time musician?
Oh, sure. So that transition happened in 2015. Um, and basically, I was kind of thrown into it because I had been sitting on the idea of going full time with my music for too long, and finally the universe was like, "Okay, dude, uh, you sitting here hemming and hawing. We just gonna throw you in the water, and you got to sink or swim." So the I was working at a printing a printing company,
Okay.
and they basically went out of business. You know,
Mhm.
they decided to. They were part of a they were a franchise, so they ended up like teaming up with another franchise in the corporation, but they basically went out of business,
Okay.
and so that eliminated my job. And actually, in the graphic design world, and you may notice if you spend time working with these agencies and stuff, a lot of times they might be dependent on like one client for like 50 to 60% of their business.
Correct. Yeah.
So I had been through this cycle like several times where I'd be working somewhere and things are going well, and because they lose one client,
Mm,
then that throws everything out of whack, and
yeah.
I got to look for another job. And I had been through that like maybe like 3 or 4 times. And this last time, it was like, man, you know what? Like, I keep my objection internally for going into music full time is like, well, that's not stable enough. I'm like, well, this ain't stable. Like,
Right.
trying to work this 9 to 5 thing, that's not stable either. Like, it's really like a false sense of security.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm a bet on myself, and I got, I got a lot of people that hit me up for lessons. I'm always working. I was basically working 2 full-time jobs because I'm playing like
Right.
40, 50 hours worth of gigs and rehearsals and all this other stuff, plus doing 40 hours in the 9 to 5 world. So I was like, man, I'm actually working enough. Let me just not be so quick to look for a job and just create my own work and just go with it.
Create your own
So
career, your own job.
yeah, just started really um, going just super hard into designing my own career.
Mm.
And even before losing the job, I was kind of like just gradually putting it in place,
Got
but I was still hesitant to go ahead and take that final step and like, okay, I'm gonna
faith.
cut
Yeah.
my day job loose. So I kind of already been setting myself up for it, and because of that, like it really was a lot smoother of a transition than I thought it would be.
Now,
So
one thing I do like to ask is with you, of course, you're a husband and father. With that transition, your wife was fully on board with that.
oh yeah, with the trend, yeah, she's been very like supportive of like me pursuing what I really want to do.
That's amazing.
Um, yeah, like and she knows she sees me like going to all of these gigs and getting all these calls. So she kind of probably even more so than I did. Like, dude, like why don't you just pursue what you really want to do
Right.
because you're already doing it. Like
Mm.
her having that objective perspective on it. She's like, I don't understand why you haven't been doing this already. It's likely what she was thinking.
Oh, that's pretty dope, man. That's
Yeah.
that's amazing. That is amazing because I talk to so many guys that are trying to make that full-time leap, whether it be an engineer or a musician or a producer or what have you, or an aspiring artist. They can't make that transition because they don't build shall I say their own little infrastructure and
Right.
their own little work ethic and put together a plan. I think that a lot of younger artists and musicians, well, even older now, if I'm being honest, don't really understand how to formulate their music career like a business plan. Like
Right.
you may not necessarily have to write this down. Now, I do. I've been an entrepreneur for quite some time. So
Hmm.
every venture I take on, I try to write a business plan for it, even if it seems silly, even if it's something, or I'm putting out an instrumental record this month. I still write it out how I want to present it to the public, and
Right.
and and I think that it's important to for young artists to understand that. And then also when they're in a situation where they're young fathers like you were, young husbands, um, I think that's key. I think where I've heard a lot of people talk about they didn't have the support of their family. They didn't have the
Hmm.
support of their wife or girlfriend. I think it's all how you, as the musician, as the producer, as the artist, if you lay the foundation properly, I think that you will they will more often have that support that you speak of. I think that,
Yeah.
like you said, she like, I'm surprised you weren't already doing it, that's amazing. But I think that's attributed to obviously your relationship and your trust in one another in that. But I just wanted to speak to that for a moment because a lot of guys don't have that. So that's just really, really cool for me to hear that someone wants to leave this particular career track. And even though you had some stutter steps, you're doing well, but that's safe. You know what I mean? You got a degree in this, let's do this, and that's safe. A lot of people don't believe in stepping out on faith. Uh,
Yeah,
but it's good that you had that bravery to do that, and your wife had the foresight to see that you could do that. Uh,
yeah, absolutely.
what would you say? You talked a little bit about some of the jazz musicians that you've had the experience of learning from afar, and then some of the people that you work with. Um, I also think I read that you worked a little bit on the Miles Ahead project.
Yeah, I did. I did participate in that. Like I appeared in maybe like two scenes, uh, as basically as Ron Carter.
Okay,
Yeah, so that was a film that Don Cheadle put together. He
right.
was the director of it. It was actually I think Miles Davis's family were the producers,
Okay.
and Don Cheadle was the director.
Yeah, because they filmed a
And
little bit in Cincinnati.
yeah, they filmed the entire thing in Cincinnati.
Oh, did they? I thought they just filmed
Hmm.
they filmed the entire thing. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. What was that experience like, man?
Oh, it was super cool, man. Yeah, just because being in the film and Don Cheadle being the director, I got to kind of spend a lot of time with him those days that I was on set. Robert Glasper was also there as kind of like a consultant and kind of making
Mhm.
sure like the music playing scenes looked authentic and real.
Right.
Also, he's of course he scored the movie too, so
Correct.
he was on set, kind of like getting a feel for what he was scoring and
Mhm.
giving input here and there. So it was kind of cool to be around both of those guys and kind of just see how they work and interact and engage with people. Both of them super down to earth guys,
Mhm.
which kind of let me know, okay, no matter how far you go and what levels of success you achieve, like you can always just be yourself and just be a regular down to earth person. So it was kind of cool to see that, get to see behind the curtain a little bit.
Oh, that's great, man. How did
Yeah.
that opportunity come about to you?
I just went to an audition. There was a email circulating while they were in the casting phase of the film, and they were doing an open call for musicians.
Hmm.
And so I just on a whim said, "Hey." At the time, I didn't even think anything was going to come of it, but on a whim, I just said, "You know what? I'm gonna just go and respond to this and try to do an audition and just see what happens." And I did, and they ended up calling me back. Like I was pretty surprised by it.
That's what's up, man. That's
Yeah.
that's that's a cool opportunity. I love that film, by the way.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah. It turned out great.
and I had to go back to see you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, that's
love that
cool,
film,
man.
man. I love that film. I love Miles. Not just the most popular stuff like Kind of Blue, but like the deep cuts. I love Miles, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I
Yeah,
love.
I'm the same way.
And I'm a huge Robert fan too. Me and my wife love Robert Glasper, man.
Yeah,
Whenever he plays, we try to catch him. Well, we've caught him for the last couple of years, no matter whether it's in the Midwest or Miami down here. But I love
yeah.
it. So that's cool, man. You've met some cool people.
Oh
You
yeah, bro.
got to play with some cool people and learn from some cool people in that jazz world. What I want to know now, what transition into the lo-fi hip hop beats? Let's talk about a little bit about
Yeah,
leading
sure.
up to breakfast beats. Tell me a little
Oh
bit
sure,
about,
man.
or maybe you were doing it all along. I don't know.
Yeah, I had been making beats for years before I got to Breakfast Beats because I was part of a hip hop band in Indianapolis called Native Son with two friends of mine, Richard Sleepy Floyd and Bobby Young. And Native Son was a project that we put together. I want to say back in like 2007 or eight,
Uh-huh.
and this hip hop band. We kind of modeled ourselves after the Roots in a way.
Okay.
And so my beat making kind of started because of that. We didn't want to be a cover band. We started off as a cover band, but we didn't want to stay there. So we, all three of us, just got to work, just cranking out beats and trial and error, trying to write songs and put stuff together. So that started getting me in the mode of hip hop production and putting
Mhm.
tracks together, learning how to sample, learning different drum sounds. So I had started doing that in like I want to say like 2008, and
Mhm.
just continued doing it. Um, all the way up until now. I'm still doing it. But once we got to the pandemic, I really started looking at it as a way to continue expressing myself creatively,
Hmm.
and also as a way to kind of get my mind off of like just all the uncertainty and anxiety that was going on in the world at the time.
Right.
Because we didn't know what was going to happen. Like when the
Didn't.
pandemic first hit,
Right. It was the
you know,
first for all of us.
yeah, yeah, like we, it was those of us that literally didn't know if the world was about to end or not.
Yeah.
It was so to kind of just cope with that, like I just started trying to just really focus on creativity.
Hmm.
And because I had been spending a lot of time making beats for Native Son, we kind of had like a huge archive of music
Hmm.
that we didn't actually make songs out of. It was just a lot of instrumentals because there's three of us making beats and one of us writing raps. So
Okay.
we had like a lot more music than we had raps to go with. So I started taking stuff that I was working on for Native Son and like just making a beat set out of it, plus creating new stuff. And I would just do that every day. And I started figuring out, okay, well, a lot of people are going live during the pandemic, which I had kind of been going live and doing virtual concerts even before the pandemic. But
Right.
I was like, now I got time to actually develop this even more.
Hmm.
So just started going live, doing beat sets, and as people started responding to it, and a community started to form around it, it's like, okay, well, maybe I need to give this a title and kind of solidify it a little bit. And Breakfast Beats is what I settled on, and
Okay.
just yeah, it's been going since then.
So Breakfast Beats started during the pandemic.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I didn't know when it started, but I think I caught on to it maybe late 2020, early 2021, uh,
Okay.
when I started tapping into it. So, but I didn't know how long it had been going. So that's interesting. So just like a lot of other, a lot of people lost people and lost during the pandemic, but I think that a lot of great creations uh, from musicians such as yourself, producers, and even just writers, whether you write music or you write books or write screenplays. I think a lot of good stuff came out of that time when we had that downtime, and
Yeah.
it birthed a lot. Like I started a new business during the pandemic, so you're starting Breakfast Beats during the pandemic,
Yeah,
and
we're on Zoom right now because of the pandemic. Who heard of Zoom
exactly,
before
yeah,
the
exactly.
pandemic?
Exactly. We all had to get together in the same place to conduct
Yeah,
interviews before
yeah.
anybody really got caught on to what was going on. Tell me, what frame of mind, like you touched on it a little bit, but what frame of mind got you to the sounds that you're doing now? Like as far as when you do the breakfast beats or when you release the records, what
Yeah, sure, man.
what got you there? Because there's a lot of synth wave. There's a touch of boom bap, but there's a lot of soulful, organic. It's really how do I say? It's really a fusion of many
Yeah,
things that I like about it. Tell me a little bit about where when you got to that headspace and how you developed over the years to get it sounding so good.
yeah, sure. It really, there's like maybe like three critical points in my experience as like just a music listener and a musician that kind of shaped what my sound is. Um, One is, I want to say maybe in like 2003, I saw Michelle Cello play at the House of
Mm.
Blues in Chicago.
Oh man,
And that's when she dropped the album Comfort Woman.
yes.
And so I saw her play that, basically that whole album, maybe minus maybe like one or two songs, but she played that whole project live.
Mm.
And I think the album came out like a couple days after that. And the band that she had and her playing, that just made like a huge impact on me. And when you got the album, the whole vibe was like this futuristic, cosmic
Yeah,
sound. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? And that's kind of stayed with me since then. Um,
Shout out to
and maybe,
Michelle Cello, definitely.
yeah, yeah. So she's been one of my biggest influences, even to now.
And she
And
plays the
then
bass,
short,
right?
yeah, she plays. Yeah, she. You mostly see her playing the bass, but she's a multi instrumentalist.
Okay.
Yep, yep. So yeah, so that was a big point. I really have been kind of like chasing that sound since then, like trying to find my own version of that.
Right.
Um, because she's moved on to like a dozen other things since then. Because that's just she's a
Right,
really
right.
eclectic artist.
She really,
Um,
really is.
yeah, but when she kind of put that vibe out there, that really resonated with me quite a bit.
Mhm.
Shortly after that, I really, even though I kind of had knew his music before then, but I really started paying close attention to Jay Dilla uh, maybe a year or two after that. Like really, once I got into playing with Native Son and trying to do production, like Jay Dilla became like really, really important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that, that
Shout out
that
to
style
Jay.
of production is just like every time for me at least, every time I hear a Jay Dilla beat, like I feel like why not think of that? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like he,
yeah, 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 yeah. As a producer myself, I know exactly what you mean. His
yeah,
stuff is slapped on a different level. It's a different,
yeah,
and people to this
it's
day are still trying to duplicate the stuff that he did.
yeah, and it's
Definitely.
kind of like to me, it's like Albert Einstein, like the theory of relativity and general relativity and all the information that he uh, made widely known about physics. Like that's been there since the dawn of time, but it was like it just took this one guy to come along and
Right,
and see it in a certain way and
right.
then communicate it to everybody else. Like, hey, this has been here all the time. Let me show you this. And I feel like that's what Jay Dilla did with like the
Yeah,
beat
I
making. Like,
agree.
yeah.
That's
So
that's
that's
that's a great way to put it. I agree with that.
yeah. So yeah, those two things those are the biggest things that have kind of shaped my approach to beat making, and then also I would say Tony, like all the guys that were involved in that band and did the projects Sons of Soul and House of Music.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, those made a huge impact. Like, yeah, my thing that I liked about them is they took live music, like they was actually playing guitars, which by that point in the '90s you really didn't see a whole lot of black guitar players anymore.
Right. Right.
But they brought that back, and they were bringing, especially because of the work of John Jubu Smith, they
Hmm.
were bringing that authentic, organic quartet gospel sound
Yeah.
and putting that up against like hip hop drums.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was dope. You know what I'm saying? I
That
related
is
to it because I was a
dope.
guitar player, and I was like, okay, here's how you can take these experiences that you've had as a guitar player, and
Mhm.
it goes right along with your interests
Right.
as a hip hop musician. So they kind of showed me how uh, you can take like your break beats and your dusty slapping hard hitting drums
Hmm.
and put those up against like guitars and live bass. And so it's like, okay, those three influences, Tony, Jay Dilla, and Michelle and Cello, like those kind of provide the framework of like what I'm going for
I can
when
hear
I'm
it now.
creating.
Now that you're
Yeah,
saying that, I can hear it in what I've been listening to from you over these last few years. That that's cool, man.
oh, right on.
I didn't expect those. I expected probably I did expect Jay Dilla, JD. I knew that was probably
Mhm.
an influence, but the others, I like all of them, but I didn't think that would come out your mouth.
Yeah, yeah,
It's funny how
yeah.
inspiration works. It's funny how
Uh huh.
thing triggers, a downfall of creativity. That's pretty cool. And then what I also like is considering those artists that you name, you can't really pinpoint that you've kind of duplicated any one of their styles. It's just that you have made a little bit of this, a little bit of that, your own thing.
Yeah, and that's the cool
It's
part.
not
It's
like
like,
you bit anybody's records. You didn't
right.
anybody's stuff. The influence are just there. And as a producer and mix engineer myself, I can understand what you did there.
Hmm.
That's pretty cool, man, to hear those influences. Because now I'm gonna be going back and listen to your stuff and see if I can pinpoint. Oh, he was listening
Yeah,
when he did that. And he might have been listening to that when he did this one.
yeah.
That's
And
pretty
it's
cool.
more of a thing like it's just kind of in my DNA because I've studied like Michelle's records and Tony's records, like just up and down since I was a teenager, especially like Tony.
Mhm.
So it's kind of just part of my DNA. I may not like actively be listening to them while I'm creating,
Right.
but like I've just internalized certain things about their approach to music. So sometimes it just comes out in ways
Uh,
that I don't even hear it until I go back and listen to it and be like, okay, yeah, that's, I can hear.
I just
But
had I just had that happen to me yesterday. A track
mhm.
I did 10 years ago. I produced a female artist out of Fort Lauderdale that I did over 10 years ago, but I was listening to some Maxwell uh,
uh,
yesterday, and I was like, wait a minute, I did something like that.
yeah, yeah,
Time I did it, I didn't realize I was doing it. It was a little a guitar melody. It wasn't the same thing, but the emotion came right back to
right,
like
right, right.
the way I was listening to that then.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I put it into my piece. You ever have that happen?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, yeah, I can go back and listen to any one of those artists and hear something. Like I say, it's not like I actually duplicated what they did, but
Right,
I hear that spark of inspiration and
right,
like,
right.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
I
the
like that.
feeling, like, when I ask people a lot of times, how does the song make them feel?
Hmm.
Sometimes I confuse people, like, when you get the normal, how does it sound? Do you like it? Does it slap or whatever, the slang is from where you're from? I generally ask, how does it make you feel? What do you feel from the song? And
Yeah,
I think that's something that when I listen to your sounds, like I feel something.
right
Um,
on, bro.
and a lot of music lately, it may sound good, it may be technically good from a engineering standpoint, but I don't feel anything. A lot of music today is kind of empty. What are your thoughts on the current status of music in the
Well,
same vein of the artists that we're talking about?
oh
You
yeah,
know,
sure.
R&B
Um,
or jazz.
yeah, to build on what you're saying, like my approach really is like in pursuit of a feeling. So I definitely relate to what you were saying
Hmm.
about that. Um, as far as like music today, I do find that feeling in a lot of music that's out now.
Hmm.
It's interesting because the time that we live in, we have access to like more music and more creativity than we've ever had
Yeah,
probably in the history of the world. So uh, I find a lot of music to be like very inspiring, almost to the point where I kind of have to shut it off because
you don't want it to
I don't want it to like creep into
bleed
my
into
own
what
work.
you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Now there is like, of course, like at the surface level, when you're talking about like mainstream media,
Hmm.
they're gonna push the thing that's easiest to cheaply make and mass produce. So
Exactly.
like a lot of your mainstream stuff sounds pretty shallow and homogenous,
Yeah.
but that's to be expected if that's if I feel like in today's times if that's the only place that you're looking for music, then that's kind of on you as a listener if you're only looking to
True.
mainstream
True.
because we have access to so much more.
We have
Um,
access to a lot of dope artists. There's a lot of dope artists that are not getting the attention of these mainstream artists, as you mentioned. Uh,
yeah,
there's a lot of people that I listen to, but they're not out there like that.
yeah. And I
Like,
can tell you as a session musician, bro, like I play on so many cool projects, and a lot of them are by people that you may never hear of just because like they're not in the mainstream.
right.
But it's like, man, you wouldn't. I mean, you would because you work in the business and you're on the inside. But
Mhm.
the average person that's not a musician and not like actually working on recording sessions, like
Mhm.
you wouldn't believe like how much incredible music is just being created like right now as we speak.
Yeah.
And I only realize it just because how much of it I actually get to work on, which is probably like just a grain of sand
And
in the
of it. Yeah.
vast,
Yeah.
you know,
There's a
desert
lot.
of just great music. Yeah.
There's a
So,
lot out there, man. And I do know a lot of artists that are working on some really great music. I try to discover artists that are working on some really great music, especially within Black music and R&B. I'm
mhm.
not a fan of the mainstream stuff. I like, good soul music, and whether
Yeah,
it
yeah,
whether it is contemporary R&B or it's a jazz blend or even lo-fi or even alternative R&B. I try to find the stuff that does give me that feeling, that I believe the artist, that I
yeah.
believe the musicians are playing from their heart. Is there anybody that has come out in the last, let's say, 5 or 6 years, that you really like that's out right now? Any genre?
Yeah, I like. I like Stolen Drums a lot. He's another producer in what they call like the lo-fi space. Um, but like his whole, of course, his music is fire, and then his whole approach to entrepreneurship and marketing and like building like the infrastructure and the community around his music. Like I relate to all of that. It's
Right.
like that's another guy that gets it. You know what I mean? So
I'm
I
not
kind of
familiar with them, but I'm gonna check them out. Stolen Drums. Make
yeah, and the way he spells his artist name is Stolen Drums, but just take all the vowels out of it. It's just all consonants the way it's
okay,
spelled.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. I'm gonna
yeah,
definitely
but
check.
check him out, man. Yeah, because he does like beat sets, and he's got like this big event that happens every Monday in Atlanta called Controller Rise, and it's
Okay,
all built around like beat culture. It's like super dope. So that's somebody I really pay a lot of attention to, like
okay.
lately. Yeah.
Okay. Now tell me about when you first launched Breakfast Beats. Uh,
Mhm.
tell me about that. Tell me how was the response? What was the feedback? Were you having fun?
Oh,
Was it
sure.
difficult? What was that like when you first launched Breakfast Beats?
First launching it, and I'm trying to go back to that space. Uh,
Take your time.
it's yeah, yeah. First launching it, it actually was kind of frightening for me because I'm an introvert,
Okay.
and yeah, just being able to get on camera and present anything that
Right.
like that was like a big hurdle for me. So just getting to the point of doing it, like that was really me stepping outside of my comfort zone
Right.
and trying to expand and grow. So yeah, doing it at first, man, the response was great. Like people received me well, thankfully, and people resonate with the music and like lots of good feedback. But yeah, doing it in the beginning, man, it was like pretty nerve wracking because, like I say, I really, if you there's people that know me personally that'll see this interview and
Mhm.
will be like, I've never heard Brandon talk so much. Like when you see
Oh
me in
wow.
person, yeah, when you see me in person, man, I'm chill. Like I don't really say a whole lot
Okay.
unless I have something to say. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean?
I
Um,
get it. I get it.
yeah,
You don't talk a lot unless you have something to contribute to the conversation.
yeah, yeah. And then I kind of talk more and open up more. Like if I'm engaging deeply with somebody about something that I'm like super passionate about,
Passionate
like
about.
which is
Yeah.
music. But most of the time, if you see me, like I don't really chop it up with people about the game or sports or like just
Right.
the stuff that most people talk about. I'm like real low key, and like I say, I'm an introvert. So like I said, just getting on camera, getting in front of, in my mind, like oh man, the whole world could see this, and I'm going into this this whole thing internally. Like, what if I don't know, what if I mispronounce a word, or what if I do this, what if I don't look right? And I'm feeling
Yeah.
like people are going to judge me harshly for whatever
Uh,
number of
yeah,
reasons.
I
Yeah.
think I understand that feeling.
Yeah.
When I did my first live, I understand that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Now good feedback. Obviously, the first time I saw it, I was hooked, and when I tune into it, I do share it. I don't know if you noticed that over the last.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate
Whenever
that,
I
man.
watch, I do share it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys that will really appreciate the sound, and a lot of people have thanked me for turning them on to you. I don't know how active they are with you now, but I do share when I listen and when I tune in. With the breakfast beats, what do you think has been the most rewarding part of you doing that since launching?
Yeah, just seeing how it actually inspires and uplifts people.
Mm,
Um, like you, for one, have talked about like how you find it to be inspiring and motivational.
mhm,
Um, Man, it's going pretty deep, man. I've had people reach out to me and say that, hey, man, my child's autistic, and like your music really centers him. Like
mm.
he could be like having sort of a meltdown or just dealing with just different things that people on the spectrum deal with, and like I can put your music on for my kid, and it really kind of centers them, and brings
That's
them peace.
dope. That's
Yeah, yeah. So
that's the
the
type of stuff.
feedback has gotten pretty heavy.
That's dope, man. I like to hear that stuff. That is real.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, it's humbling, man. Because it kind of makes because I know as creatives sometimes we question whether we should pursue an idea
Right,
and
right.
or whether we should actually put this out or not.
You second guess
Because we
ourselves.
feel, yeah, yeah, and then so that kind of puts it in perspective. Like, dude, like, who are you to withhold the creativity that you've been given? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if
Yeah, 100%.
yeah, if this is coming through you, it's not about you. Like, you need to put it out because
Right.
it's not for you, and it's not just about me,
Yeah.
Brandon Meeks.
Yeah, I understand totally. Short story. I make beats, of course, and I produce records. I do hip hop, and I also produce alternative music. So alternative
Hmm.
and then also dance music. But one thing, it's funny that you say that. My sister used to call me a music hoarder because most of the stuff that I created, I would never put out.
Yeah, I
Not
get
for
that.
fear of how it would be received. It's just like, you know how we are as creators, we're perfectionists and it's never going to be perfect, but you don't really want to put out anything half cocked, half assed.
Hmm.
So you kind of hold it close to the chest. And then I eventually, just like you said, I had to get to the place where I got to share this
Yeah,
with the people, and I think this music will move people. Um, and since then, I've just been releasing music like crazy, and then also assisting other artists with distributing their music. And um, I don't know if you know, but I run a marketing company now, so I market other people's recordings and stuff.
oh, that's dope. Man, you
Yeah.
said something interesting, man, about like not wanting to put the music out like half cocked and all that.
Mhm.
That was a big piece of me doing breakfast beats too, was
Mhm.
just learning how to let go and not have to feel like I have to perfect everything in
Right,
order for it to be presentable. Like most of the music on breakfast beats is stuff that me personally, I don't consider it finished.
right.
You know what I mean? But it's like sketches of ideas, and um, it's kind of like letting people into the creative process.
And that's
And
what got me drawn into it. What you just said there is it shows a little bit of who you are and the creative process. And it shows you, hey, listen, I'm just playing around here. Um,
yeah,
Something may come of it, but something may not. But it's good content simply because it's so personal. It's an intimate experience.
hmm,
And every time I tune in, you know, you got your nice little setting in your workroom in your studio, and you're doing this stuff and you're actually engaging with the people, and you're
yeah,
building a community with it. I think that's been possibly one of the huge keys to your success and how you have um, made such an impression on your audience. With social media, do you think with you do that on Facebook is where I watch it? Does that Breakfast Beats go out anywhere else?
I just do it on Facebook right now. Recently, I kind of started doing some pre-recorded beat sets and uploading them to YouTube.
Okay, that's
And
the one I was
do,
looking at this morning.
yeah, yeah. So you saw that one,
Yeah.
and thank you for sharing that one too.
No problem.
I'm thinking about making that a more regular part of the Breakfast Beats experiences, like just doing some pre-recorded sets and posting them here and there. I also started a 24/7 YouTube live stream for Breakfast Beats. So like
Okay.
like you can go to channels like Lo-Fi Hip Hop Girl,
Yes.
and so they have like the 24/7 radio
Mm.
playing on YouTube. So I started one of those of my own.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm right now
I'll
in the
be sure to put
process of
all the
like,
links. Sure to put all your links
okay,
for
yeah,
along
because
with
I'm
this
trying to figure out
podcast.
how to build traffic for that right now. So
Definitely.
yeah,
And I'll share those links too, when we're done with this one. Um,
okay,
I think it's kind of cool because you got merchandise. Um, you got your website, brandonmeeksmusic.com. Tell us about building that, setting that up, getting your music on there, and also how you got into the merch. Because I know you got the Breakfast Beats T-shirts, is what I've seen. But tell me a little bit about that and expound on that.
yeah,
It's
that came about.
operation. You got your operation going there.
Oh yeah, sure, man. Yeah, that came about. And to be quite honest, it came about because of a friend of mine, who I've actually never met in person.
Okay.
But this brother saw some content that I posted, maybe just like a bass cover video or something like that. But this cat, Chris Burns out of Memphis,
Mm.
he came across my content and started hitting me up and kind of proverbially giving me a slap on the back of the head, like, "Hey man, you need to like."
Hmm.
Get your website together, and get some merch together, and get this and that together. Like you got like good content, man. Your music is dope, but like, how do I support you? Like, where do I go to buy something?
Right,
Like
right.
where's your website? Where's this and that? So he kind of, initially he didn't just talk junk to me. He went in his pocket and paid for like a whole year of web hosting for me.
Wow.
Yeah, didn't he didn't even know me. You know what I mean? Like he just met me online, and
That's
but he
dope.
was yeah, but he's an entrepreneur too.
Mhm.
Like he resells shoes and is in that world, affiliate marketing and all of that stuff.
Okay.
So
Are you still doing business with that gentleman?
we keep in contact here and there. Like every once in a while, he'll check in and see how I'm doing, or I might hit him up and see how things are going. And he tunes into Breakfast Beats, and I'll see him in the responses for my content
Okay.
here and there. But yeah, he kind of just came along and was like, "Hey man, I see you got something potentially good here. You need to take a look at like getting your website together and
That is dope.
getting your merch together and figuring out how you're gonna properly monetize your stuff." And so I took between what he was saying, and then I think maybe like shortly after that, I started taking like just different online marketing courses for musicians,
Hmm.
just by other musicians who were entrepreneurs and figured out some stuff and wanted to teach it. So I started, just going through some courses like that and learning how other people who run successful online businesses put
Hmm.
things together, and learning about sales funnels, like learning what's the process that somebody goes through to go from never having heard of you to like, oh my God, I love this artist and I want to buy everything they do. Like, what
Yeah.
is that? How do you engineer that process? Because it doesn't just happen by chance,
It does
So
not.
like,
It's not an
yeah, so
accident.
right. So learning how to drive traffic and get people to be introduced to my music, to having like different levels of experiences with me, and becoming more confident and feeling comfortable with who I am as an artist, and feeling like,
Right.
okay, yeah, Brandon is a cool dude. I've gotten like really great value from Brandon, and I feel like I would feel comfortable spending $30 on something Brandon is selling right now. So like it's been a lot of learning going into like just learning how those processes work and how to build
Mhm.
each part of the infrastructure to make that work.
Okay. So the gentleman that did the web hosting for the year, what was his name again? I'm sorry.
That's Chris Burns.
Chris Burns. Shout out to Chris Burns. That's an
Yeah, man.
investment, man.
Yeah, man.
Uh,
Yeah, he
investment in the
definitely
business
was.
world.
Yep.
That's what's up, bro. He put you on, and then you did the work. And this is something I try to talk to with my clients that I do marketing for. You watch the right stuff. You ask the right questions. You read the right stuff to try to understand how you're going to apply that marketing, and probably even some of your background with the graphic designs working at those agencies played a part in it, right?
Oh yeah. I started
Yes,
putting it
like
all together.
still using it to this day. Yeah, that piece, I think a lot of musicians need to understand. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things you learn in a little bit more detail in terms of how you market, how you built the not don't give away all the sauce now. Don't give away all the sauce, but just a little
No,
bit
it's
on how you built it so that you could turn Breakfast Beats into that community and then drive traffic to the website. Because I know you have a monthly subscription service and you have all these things that kind of keep people in that community. You got some great graphics on the cover arts too, and all those
oh, thank you, man.
the projects that you put out. You do all those graphics yourself?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, those are pretty slick. So, like I said, I'm
Oh,
gonna have
thanks.
the links in the podcast and the links on YouTube for his website and all the stuff that he's doing. Y'all be sure to check it out. Tell us a little bit about how you made it into it's a business. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, sure, man. The first thing I had to learn, and this helped me a lot, and I think it'll help a lot of other musicians, is like we gotta be comfortable with the idea of marketing. All marketing is just the process by which we get people to know that our music is out there,
Right.
and it's the process by which we reach the people that need what it is we have to offer. Because
Hmm.
there is, no matter what you're making creatively, there's somebody out there in the world that's looking for the thing that you do. and the only way they can find out about it is through marketing. So that's all that marketing is. Sometimes we feel like marketing is like kind of like this. It's almost like it's scammy or something, or
Right, 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 right,
so we kind of shy away from it. Like I just want to be a creative.
right.
Uh,
And a lot of artists don't know how to market. Uh,
right,
and then when
right,
someone comes along and wants to teach them or do it on their behalf, they still don't really understand it, so they don't buy into it. Uh,
right,
and then
right.
for me personally, I personally think people confuse marketing with promotion. I think
Yeah,
marketing and promotion are two different things. Would you agree or disagree?
yeah. I would agree with that. Like promotion is part of marketing,
Hmm.
but sometimes people feel like, um, and I've been guilty of this too, just out of ignorance, uh, feeling like if you just get on social media and just promote all the time, then that's marketing.
It's not.
And yeah, it's not.
That's
it,
promotion, but it's not
yeah,
really marketing.
right. So like, really, like if if I could like put it in simple terms without like trying to go too far down the rabbit hole, marketing is how you build your relationship with the audience, because that's
Mhm.
what you're really doing is like you're building a way of relating to your audience that makes them become familiar and trusting and confident in what you're doing.
Hmm.
When you see somebody just come across your timeline for the first time, you don't know who or what they are. If they come right out and ask you for something because you don't know who and what they are, your
Right,
guard is up. You're like, are they trying to scam me? Like, are they trying to get me out of something?
right.
So you have to walk people through a process and let them know, like, no, it's cool. Like uh, I'm doing this music or whatever it might be. Um, I think this might be something that aligns with what you're interested in or something that you might be looking for. And you're kind of taking people through a process that makes it safe for them to kind of let their guard down a little bit,
Right, right.
you know. So that's generally what I'm trying to do when I'm out here making posts and sharing free music and doing breakfast beats
Hmm.
and engaging with my audience, responding to comments, sending out emails. It's not always about listen to my music, listen to my music.
That's what I
A lot
mean.
of times it's like, hey man, here's something that I think is dope. It might not even be my creation. It can just be some art. Here's something
Exactly.
that I think is dope, and I think I'm gonna share it with you guys and let's
And
talk about it. You might think it's dope, and we're
exactly,
relating to each other on things that we have in common. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
It's not all about buy this, buy that, go
Right.
download this, go download that. It's building that community. And I know at least when I watched a few times for Breakfast Beats, you're shouting out who's in the community. You're engaging with the people in the chat. And then like you mentioned, you have the mailing list. Is it a newsletter or is it just when you just drop? Usually.
It's not so much a newsletter, but it's the mailing list. I kind of just use it to just continue the engagement with the
Right,
audience.
right.
Now, when I do have important things that I want people to know about, I'll send them to my email list. But a lot of times, it's like right now, I did a concert that basically it was recorded into a video that has like a really high production value. Like
Mhm.
I would put this video up against uh, like I mentioned, like Herbie Hancock and
Right,
Branford,
right, right.
like any content that they have that's available. Like I got a concert video that looks and sounds that good.
When
So
will that be ready for people to see?
I'm in the process now of like getting it together and getting it organized. But that's something I'll be communicating with my email list,
Gotcha.
to kind of let them know, like, okay, here's something I'm thinking that I'll take part of it and make it a free EP,
Okay.
and I'll kind of make that available to my email list, and then make the full video available. But like when I have like important pieces of work and things that I want to release, my email list community, those are some of the first people I go to, because those are
Right.
people that have kind of become familiar with my work and have trusted me enough to share their contact information with me.
Right.
So of course I reward them by like giving them exclusive stuff first.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, man. And I'm glad that you spoke to that because even when I'm talking with new clients for marketing now, I try to try to get them to understand the importance of having their own website and building their own traffic as opposed to relying on Facebook and Instagram, etc., so that they can capture that information.
Yeah.
And they can speak directly with the consumer and the listener, the fan, with the website, the content. You're going to be building up the YouTube channel. You've currently got the 24/7 live stream going. That's all your music, or
That's
your
right.
all yours, nobody else's music in there.
Yeah, it's just all the stuff that I would play on Breakfast Beats is just
Okay.
a continuous live stream of that music.
After this, you gotta tell me how you set that up. I
Okay,
want
yeah.
to do something like that too. That's pretty cool. Tell me with within the merchandise, the Breakfast Beats t-shirts and everything. Tell me a little bit about what merchandise you have and what inspired the merch beyond just the Breakfast Beats itself. I like the logo, by the way. Real simple, to the point. It's pretty cold blood. Tell us
No,
about
thank you.
other products that you have, or even just talk about the projects that are available on your website.
Yeah, sure. As far as merch, of course, there's Breakfast Beats hoodies, t-shirts, coffee mugs, baseball caps. That all kind of came about because as Breakfast Beats started to gain an audience, I just wanted to kind of have more things to solidify the community.
Right.
So, like, I would uh, post about the Breakfast Beats hoodies, and then as people would buy them, I'd have them send me a photo of them wearing the hoodie, and then I would post like a whole collage of just different people rocking the Breakfast Beats hoodies, just to kind of just
That
build
is
more
dope.
like that cohesive community vibe, you know. And then, of course, as a music entrepreneur,
Yeah.
when you have people's attention, you of course you want to find ways to monetize it, but you want to be creative and make it part of your community. But you still don't want to. But at the same time, you don't want to miss an opportunity when you do have a bunch of people that are gravitating to your artwork. You definitely, as
100%.
an entrepreneur, want to find ways to like, okay, what calls to action? What things would people be interested in purchasing from me? And a lot of times, people will, if you're doing the right thing, people will start hitting you up like, hey man, I want to buy something from you. Like, how can I support you? So you want to have things in place so when people ask
Right.
you that, you're not just sitting there like, well,
I
I don't
don't
know.
know.
I don't know what to
Yeah.
say.
100%. Yeah. Now, how often, or should I not necessarily how often, but is that merch business contributing a lot to your bottom line?
uh, like right now, it's kind of slow because I haven't been pushing it as much. I'm kind of in a period now where I'm trying to choose like what's the next direction going to be.
How so?
So I haven't been pushing the merch like super heavy.
Mhm.
Um, Actually, like the session work part of my business is kind of like taking me in a direction where it's like, man, this is like really really lucrative.
Mhm.
Do I want to just go 100% with this? But no, I really like what I'm doing as a creative, so I got to find a way to keep that going. So I'm kind of like in a different place, like right now, like today. So
Okay.
like yeah, so
So
once I figure out like how I'm going to proceed forward, then like merch and everything, you know what I'm saying? That's really going to start coming back to the forefront again.
you did mention that at the top of the conversation that you were doing a lot of session work. Is that
Hmm.
the bulk of what you're doing right now lately?
That probably makes up about maybe like 30 to 40% of it when
Mm.
it, you know what I'm saying? But that's maybe like a few years ago, that was like maybe like 10% of what I make as a musician. And now it's kind of grown quite a
Gotcha.
bit. Like, yeah, so it's, I'm giving it more of a serious look like, man,
Well, you must
this
be in
could,
demand.
yeah, it's coming along
So,
really well and the
mhm.
reputation is getting out. Um, so I'm trying to like figure out how to, I guess the dilemma I'm in, I want it to be like a substantial part of what I do, but I
Right.
don't want it to take over everything else to where I just
Correct.
become hired guns for everybody else. Because
Right.
I still got my own creativity and ideas
Right.
in a community of people that want to support what I do.
So
So,
just trying to figure out a balance between the two.
right, right.
Essentially.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, but like you do have, the merch that's already out there. You do have your channels, your website, and Breakfast Beats is now it's a brand.
Right.
So that keeps people coming back to you. And that's something I always try to talk to new clients about as well. Developing a brand, a unique identity where you can monetize all these things. And generally a lot of what I get back when I'm consulting with artists is that they don't, oh, it's just streams. I'm just counting on streams. And then it's the complaint of once you reach a certain amount of streams, there's really not a lot of money in streams. So what do I do now? And it's like people like yourself um, are incorporating a lot of this stuff. And there's a real business opportunity there for you to build this community. And I want people to take note that's listening and the people that's watching is that the stuff that he's sharing here is gems. You can take that and apply your own methods and your own techniques and your own style to it. And you can build a business beyond just making beats.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And if you can get a lot of streams, like Spotify is just a website. So if people are willing to go to Spotify to find your music, they'd be willing to go to your website to find your music.
Exactly.
So yeah, so like for artists that are doing this and trying to do this as a profession, like you definitely want. I mean, Spotify is okay if it's like just supplemental income. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
But
It's
but
never
your meat and
full time.
potatoes should be happening on your own website. Like people should be going directly to you to buy your music. So you know,
100%.
right, right, because you
I've even introduced that a lot of artists aren't aware of. You can even have your merchandise website linked to your Spotify.
oh yeah, yeah, you can do
Yeah.
that.
Like
Yep,
I do that for myself and several other artists that I work with, where within your Spotify bio, a lot of artists don't know this, but you can check it out. And then anybody that has any questions, you can shoot me an email or drop it in the comments. I can tell you about this. But it is a direct link to your own personal website and your own personal merchandise store and through Spotify, whether listen to your music, you can also place that store as your highlight. So
hmm,
immediately, once they're listening to that song, they can immediately identify that with a piece of product that matches that song.
yeah,
Uh, and you can do that many, many ways. I just wanted to throw that in there
yeah,
because we're talking about, like you said, the meat and potato should come from your own website. Get your
right,
own.com because the monetization from the social networks is only going to be so much. Um,
right.
and
And that's that's not property that you own. Like when you're on Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, YouTube, you're basically like living on somebody else's land. When you have your website, that's your house. So
yeah,
you control
exactly.
what happens in your house. And if somebody wants to come to your house, they're paying you directly. And
That's
you pretty
that's what
much
I tell people. Get your own real estate
right, right,
because you taking up their real estate and they can shut down at any time and
right.
they can do whatever they want with your content. They won't put your content in the right algorithm or whatever the case may be. A lot of artists don't understand how to run ads, so they don't understand that game. Do you run any ads with your content?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Organic.
absolutely. Yeah, I do try to have a lot of like organic, unpaid traffic going on. That's why I try to post regularly and engage with my audience and respond to comments and all that stuff. But I definitely run ads. Like I just finished doing a four concert series here in Indianapolis, just free concerts. So like running ads and getting the word out about that was like a huge part of it. Building my email list through ads, like offering uh, like free content and
Mhm.
for people to sign in exchange for people to sign up for the email list. And once I have
Right.
the email list, I can kind of engage you and kind of build that relationship. So you become part of the community and know like all of my work and kind of just develop a relationship with it.
Right. Right. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
So yeah, yeah. So I definitely ads are like the best way to to do that without it taking you 20 years because
Right.
if you're just dependent on the algorithm to make you go viral and then you know what I'm saying that's not really a workable sustainable strategy because you may or may not go viral and then a lot of times when you go viral most of the people that find you are people that are just interested in that one particular piece of content but they're not going to be interested in you
Correct.
beyond that unless
Correct.
so ads are a way that you can kind of define who it is that you want to reach and be very specific about the targeting and closely uh, find the people that are most aligned with what it is that you have to offer. So you have more control over all those parameters. So when you're advertising, you're actually building the audience that's uh, infinitely like more likely to be invested in what you have going on.
Right,
So yeah,
100%.
advertising is great.
I agree with that 100%. Um, I I I I want to touch on really quickly because I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know you're a busy man. I want to touch on because the people that watch this on YouTube are going to ask, what equipment is he using? What's your go-to gear?
Oh sure.
Beats.
Yes, I use Ableton Live to make my beats. I make pretty much everything like right in Ableton. And then aside from that, like I have a Akai APC 40 sitting right here.
Mhm.
This is my MIDI controller. So when I'm doing breakfast beats, I'm actually like triggering all the beats from here or any effects that I want to, like DJ effects that I want to uh, put on the beats, like while they're playing. Like I'll run all of that stuff from here. Um, Aside from that, like I record through, like if I'm recording live bass or live guitar, I use like the Focusrite Scarlett interface,
Mhm.
and all of that's going through a MacBook. Just like we were talking about before we started the
Yeah.
interview, like I just got a MacBook Pro,
Got
so
the
like
M3. I'm
yeah.
jealous.
So I'll be recording everything into like my MacBook Pro. As far as
Okay.
my streaming setup, like I
Mhm.
can kind of, you probably have to cut me off because I can talk about gear for a while,
Uh-uh.
but
Go for it, man. Go for it. I think all
yeah.
my Gearhead fans will love to hear this.
Yeah, but my streaming setup, so I run two computers for my streaming setup. So I have like the MacBook, which is where Ableton lives, and all of my audio, like my
Mhm.
beats and stuff, is playing on the MacBook. Then I'm sending that through a mixer and into an iMac, and that's where I'm broadcasting my stream from. So I run OBS on my iMac, and then like all of my audio inputs, some are coming from a microphone, some are coming from my MacBook. Then I
Mhm.
got my camera set up. That's all of that is going into OBS on an iMac, and
Okay.
then it's being broadcast to the world whenever I'm live streaming.
Okay. And that's the behind the scenes of the breakfast beat. So when you're watching, now you can visualize how his setup looks there.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. I need
yeah,
to clean
man.
up around here and take a picture, and then I got to make it look a little bit more presentable.
Tell me
Appreciate that, man.
what's you mentioned earlier that you were in this space of trying to figure out which you're gonna do, and we were talking about balancing the session work with the breakfast beats and the other projects that you have going on. You're
Mhm.
in that space that you're still kind of figuring out, but what optimistically are you looking forward to? What do your followers and your fans have to look forward to once you get this little thing figured out? What's next?
Man, I'm really excited right now about my jazz quartet.
Hmm.
Like I was telling you, the concert we did, um, I think that's going to kind of be the catalyst to that kind of becoming a bigger part of what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Of course, breakfast beats and the lo-fi side and the hip hop production, that's going to continue. Um, but I noticed through doing my concert series that a lot of people want to come out and see me play the bass and hear
Hmm.
my jazz compositions and hear even some of the stuff that I write and produce for breakfast beats.
Hmm.
Like I give that to my jazz group and we play it live,
Okay.
and yeah, it gives it a whole different life.
Okay.
And I've been seeing that a lot of people are responding to that. Like, so it's telling me like, okay, well, you need to start getting out here and hitting some different cities with this band and pushing that a lot more. Continue making beats and writing and doing breakfast beats because that's really like my laboratory for creating ideas.
Gotcha.
But also the jazz group can be another outlet for the music that you're creating on breakfast beats, and people want to see that side of it.
Right.
So, like I said, I'm getting ready to put out a free live EP. It's going to be about 3 or 4 tracks that we performed live, and they were recorded in really really high quality
Mhm.
So I want to release that to the people. And then there's a concert video that I have that I'm going to be using that to kind of just uh, kind of continue building the community as far as like uh, people that are interested in what I do as a jazz artist. I'm going to be adding using the video concert as a way of growing that community and letting people know
Okay.
like, hey man, like we got this really dope band that you haven't heard of yet, and you want to check us out as well. So like when you put on Robert Glasper and all your other artists, yeah, put this on as well. You'll enjoy it just
Okay.
as much. So
I'm looking forward to that, man.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
you're gonna be playing out live with them, and you're gonna do a recording.
Yeah, so I want to lead up to it to doing a studio project with the jazz group. So basically, the way I'm envisioning this, and I'm kind of giving away a lot of the sauce right here, but I don't mind. I think other artists can learn from this. Um, so I want to use the concert that we did, the content that I got from that. I
Hmm.
want to use that as free content to bring people into my world. And
Right.
as they come in and consume that content and get to see what I do and really get a really immersive experience in seeing me live, uh, I want to grow that relationship and build a bigger audience for the studio project that I want to do.
Hmm.
So once I get to the point of getting ready to do the studio project, I'll have a crowd of people who have seen the concert, who engaged with the live EP, and that'll be a community of people that I may be able to reach out to and say, hey, I want to do a crowdfunding project for my new studio album. Because you've seen
Yes.
my concert and you like that content, would you want to support me in this? And a
Yes.
lot of those people will say yeah. So I'm growing that community in that audience, and then I'll have people that can support me through the financing process of the studio project, plus
Hmm.
people to come back and promote the project to and sell it to, because they'll be invested in it and they want to
Right. Right.
see it become successful. So I can go back to them with that, and then that'll also be my audience if I want to do tour dates and hit some different cities. And hey, you supported the Kickstarter for this project or whatever it is. You bought the album. I'm gonna be in your city soon. Like, what's some good places to play? Come check us out when we hit your city. So I'm using the opportunity I got from this concert footage to
Hmm.
really start amping up uh, more opportunities and more projects and shows and concerts and possibly more merch. It's
I,
all part of a good way to just build the audience and give people good content and good value, but grow the audience and it becomes almost like a feedback loop. You know.
oh man, that's perfect. I'm so glad you touched on that. I'm so glad you touched on the crowdfunding as well. That's something that I'm starting to get into as well with some of my clients. I'm glad you spoke to that. And I want everybody that's listening on all the streaming platforms and people that are watching on YouTube to really rewind that back what he was just talking about. Rewind that back and listen to that formula of how he's building and growing his community. He's given away this what I'm gonna imagine is this beautiful concert series as he's laid it out for me. And I've seen him play live, so I know it's gonna be tight. Actually, I shot a video of you one time and sent it to you. Back
Okay. Yeah. I do remember that. Yep.
Yeah. I think that everybody listening and everybody watching should take that back, play it back, listen to what he said, how he's building something. That's why I tell my people we're building something. You give them something, you bring them into your world, as you said, and then that leads to future monetization that
Right.
helps you finance the operation because people are invested. People are like literally invested. People are involved and they care about the process because of what you've been doing and what you've been building up. That's something that a
Right.
lot of artists need to start doing. Obviously, it's going to be different than what you do because you're unique in your own pursuits. But look at that overall formula. And I try to tell people look at that as a model, as a business
Yeah.
model. And I think what you're doing is amazing. And I'm so glad that you were able to take the time to talk to me, tell me about all this stuff, man. And I really hope my listeners on music therapy and motivation are paying close attention to this one. This man just dropped some bombs, some bombs.
Oh,
Uh,
thanks, man.
Seriously, bro, that this is the type of stuff that I live for, like these good conversations, and not just inspiration, not just the beats, but how do you build something? How do you get people to care about what you're doing? And
Right.
and
Right.
the information you're sharing here today is something that I preach myself. So now I can slap people over the head with this episode and be like, see?
Yeah.
But
And this is the kind of stuff that a lot of times when I watch interviews of like your biggest artists, I hate that they don't get asked these kind of questions and don't get a chance to talk about like this side of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right. That's why I
yeah,
wanted to do something completely different, man. Just
yeah,
actually to the nuts and the bolts of it and get kind of behind the psyche of creatives such as yourself and let us get a little bit to know you. And then this will be also another piece of content that you can share with your fans and stuff so they get to know you a little bit better than what they get in the doses that you give them on breakfast beats.
yeah, man.
Um, that I can't wait to possibly see the band play live that you're talking about, the stuff that's upcoming. So I'm gonna stay locked in and I'm gonna be tuned in. So if I'm in the area, I'm definitely gonna come out and see you guys again. I'm looking forward to see how the growth process goes leading up towards that recording. Um, and I just want to say, man, this has been a good talk. This has been a good talk. But I want to make sure that I've covered everything that you might want to communicate to your listeners or my listeners that you think could be of service.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate the opportunity. It really does mean a lot, man.
If you got nothing else, anything you want to hype up, anything you want to advertise, anything you want to talk
Yeah,
about that maybe I didn't ask about.
yeah, absolutely. If you don't follow me on Facebook already, go there, Brandon Meeks Music on Facebook. Definitely come follow me on Instagram. I just started a new Instagram page, so I'll be communicating a lot there. That's Brandon Meeks Music _ on Instagram. So follow me on both of those platforms, and that'll be the best way to kind of stay in the loop of what I have going on. Any announcements or new exciting content, good music, you can check it all out there. Also, don't forget to go to brandonmeeksmusic.com. You can go there. You can hire me to play bass on your record, or you can just buy music that I already have for sale. You know what I mean? The merch is there. You can find apparel. So brandonmeeksmusic.com as well as Facebook and Instagram. I'll see you guys there.
Appreciate it, brother. I'm gonna get all these links from you. I'm gonna put them in the comment section and tag all your stuff in the YouTube channel, and I'm also put it on my podcast, our RSS feed. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you were inspired today. I hope you learned a lot today. This is Brandon Meeks. Again, it's brandonmeeksmusic.com that you can find him on and the other socials that he mentioned. This is Music Therapy and Motivation with your host, Gino Black. And Brandon, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you very much for
Yeah,
joining me.
likewise. All right, man. Take care.